All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. It's Tuesday night, folks. This is Joe Briano coming to you once again live from the streets of Orange County. And what we've got going on in the streets of Orange County is probably going on in the streets where you are. I got notification today that Vector Control is going to start spraying pesticides in my city, folks. That's right. Now, for years we fought the application of aerial pesticide spraying at the county level. And it looks like, after I've discussed this issue at length on several of my videos, that the mosquitoes that are present in Orange County right now don't belong here, and I believe they've been intentionally placed here, ladies and gentlemen. I believe these mosquitoes have been placed here intentionally. They're non-native, they're invasive mosquitoes, to create enough havoc to get people to say, oh, please save us from all these mosquito bites, as well as the diseases that they are carrying that I believe they may be being purposely infected with and released. Now, I've lived in Southern California my whole life, and what we're dealing with right now is nothing short of the effects of weaponized idiots in local government, ladies and gentlemen. And I want to tell you something. If you don't think who's sitting on your city council is important, if you don't think who's sitting on your school board is important, if you don't think who's sitting on the board of supervisors at the county level is important, and if you don't even know who these people are, you want to know something? I don't have a lot of mercy for you. Because you want to know why? You need to know who's responsible for making the good decisions and the bad decisions. And if bad decisions are being made, you need to be involved in making good decisions for your fellow man, woman, and child, ladies and gentlemen. So here we are in Fullerton, where Vector Control has just announced that they're going to begin spraying from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. with ground-based trucks in certain neighborhoods where they have found mosquitoes that have tested positive for West Nile virus, ladies and gentlemen. Now, West Nile is allegedly a pathogenic organism that results in neuroinvasive paralytic symptoms, neuroinvasive paralysis. It can actually make you paralyzed. And we all know that polio was a disease of the past. But was polio really caused by a polio virus? Or was it caused by a combination of nuclear fallout and chemical poisoning, when people used to have DDT wallpaper and everything was chemicals and pesticides and poisons and paint and all kinds of petrochemical derivatives that invaded the human body by the stupidity of the average American consumer back in the day, because they claimed they didn't know the stuff was dangerous? Was polio, in fact, not a result of a virus, but a result of, and a pretext for, a result of chemical poisoning, where the neurological system of the host collapsed under the inordinate pressure of toxicology beyond human ability to withstand? I believe that's the case. I also believe that these neuroinvasive encephalopathies that are being diagnosed could very well be a similar situation, if not having an electromagnetic exposure component as well. There's a particular individual in Fullerton, and he had for years gone public with supporting Wi-Fi in schools, actually going from school district to school district, doing presentations about how safe and wonderful putting Wi-Fi systems and microwave systems in classrooms was being the guest speaker, the featured speaker of a presentation at my next door neighbor's house with district officials in attendance, telling everybody how safe and wonderful microwaves are because they've obviously been approved by the FCC. We all know that the FCC is not a healthcare agency, and I don't want to get off track here, but I want to make a point. I want to make a point because this doctor, I won't mention his name because he's got enough problems, all right? But he's now in a wheelchair because apparently he was a victim of a neuroinvasive encephalitis infection, possibly West Nile, that left him paralyzed. Now, I will mention that this person is an orthopedic surgeon, or he was. And if any of you understand the surgical setting, you will clearly understand that it is a highly toxic environment. And what I mean is that the surgical setting is replete with all kinds of chemical solvents, disinfectants, lighting that is hazardous, as well as, of course, the microwave scanners and sensors and telemetry and communication devices. And if you spend any amount of time in a surgical unit, you're going to be exposed to an inordinate amount of radiation as well as toxins. So is it possible this person actually had succumbed to a toxic overload and electromagnetic exposure? It is possible. I believe that could very well be the case. Now, I want to make a point here, folks, and I want you to understand something. What is going on in Fullerton is going on in your community. The government and high-level people, I believe, are bringing in vectors, whether they're mosquitoes or gnats or bats or rats, whatever. In Fullerton, they've brought these diseases in with the mosquitoes. Now, we know that the Vector Control Board in Orange County tried to stage a St. Louis encephalitis outbreak a few years ago when we were in a full swing of trying to stop the aerial spraying assault, because we busted them because the only traps that came back positive for St. Louis encephalitis were found on Vector Control's own property. So we know what's going on. We know that this is a setup, and now they've introduced these Aedes aegypti mosquitoes to supposedly create the crisis to warrant the solution of spraying and a possible outbreak of some pathogenic origin that they're going to use as a pretext and a justification for forced vaccinations and the passage of more legislation enabling the medical mafia to have more police powers and implement a forced vaccination program for children as well as adults. Right now, forced vaccination is only a condition of school entry requirements for children and certain types of workers, but no such mandate exists for the general population. And ladies and gentlemen, that is what's at work here. Now, I want to talk to you about how the weaponized idiots in local government fall into this discussion. For years, I've been fighting things like microwave deployments in classrooms, while people like this doctor roll himself out there in a wheelchair telling everybody how wonderful this stuff is. He actually even did a presentation at my next door neighbor's house, Mr. Jesse Knowles, a technology aficionado over at Troy High School, who had a brain tumor removed from his head not too long ago. I wonder if that's any coincidence from his love affair with wireless devices. But nonetheless, he actually had the gall and audacity with his wife, who actually put together a foundation at the elementary level to raise money to bring in iPads to the school district, while he was working the high school district to bring in the Chromebooks and the high-powered Wi-Fi systems to the classrooms in the high schools, when I was fighting both fronts to block the implementation and deployment of this weaponry that is actually ruining children, harming children and making them sick, and ruining their critical thinking skills and acting as gateways and doorways to video game addictions and pornography addictions. Yes, you can thank Jesse and Michelle Knowles of Fullerton, California, for doing everything in their power to making sure wireless radiation came to the schools in Fullerton, and wireless devices that damage children, and it is a medically established fact that microwave emissions cause cancer, is a medically established fact based on the National Toxicology Report, and the recent developments about how these devices destroy vision. And there's all kinds of research out there how it affects critical thinking and learning. So I don't want to get too off track, but this doctor that showed up in their living room that did a presentation about how I'm crazy is in a wheelchair, and I believe he's in that wheelchair because of toxic overload from his occupational exposure to microwave radiation and the chemical solvents, disinfectants, anesthesias, and even possibly the genetic material that he may have been exposed to from all of these vaccines and all of these drugs and blood and all these things in the surgical setting, I believe led to this man's demise. Of course, he's going to blame it on some neuroinvasive encephalitis carried by a mosquito, and that's the agenda, folks, is to blame the bugs. Well, guess what's going on in Fullerton now, folks? They're going to use a ground-based adulticide. I mean, they're going to go after the adult mosquitoes, and it's called deltamethrin, and it's a class 2 pyrethrin, and the studies on this stuff and safety evaluations were conducted all over 30 years ago. You don't think that research has had the ability to become more efficient and accurate over the last 30 years? Well, no, they're not looking at it. There are no human studies on this stuff. So what we've got is we've got a city council that appoints people to the vector control board that's going along with this. Now, the reason why I say we have weaponized idiots at the local level and how dangerous they are is because of the following. We know that in every crisis there is a solution, and in every situation there is a preventative measure, and in every problem there's a common sense solution. Now, if you have a problem with mosquitoes, ladies and gentlemen, the first thing you look at is what is the natural source of predation? Well, I will tell you, because I was a child who grew up spending a lot of times outdoors, and I used to look at bugs' wings under microscopes with the slides, and I used to take the peels off the onions and the bees' wings and the moths' antennas and their eyeballs and look at them with my microscope. And let me tell you something, I've caught dragonflies with mosquitoes in their mouth. Dragonflies can eat hundreds of mosquitoes a day. They have an insatiable appetite. They have in their eyes literally 30,000 little sections of their eyes. They have 360-degree vision. They have the most incredibly complex eyes of any insect, and they actually can intercept a mosquito in mid-flight. They're the most efficient predators to eliminate the mosquito problem imaginable. Well, what do, ladies and gentlemen? Well, they put in cell towers, and they put in all these microwave systems that are decimating the dragonfly population. For years, I have warned against what microwave systems do to any insect that is exposed to them. What happens at the city council? They keep approving the cell towers at all the parks and the ball fields and the playgrounds. And what did the city council do recently? Well, they voted to put in these LED lights, and they claim that they're a 3,000 degree Kelvin color temperature, when in fact I've proven with my own equipment that that is not the case. That from a distance the color temperature is much higher than directly underneath them. And what effect do these lights have on wildlife and their circadian rhythm of insects and the sleep cycles and the overall health of insects? It destroys them because it tricks everything into thinking it's still daytime, so they don't get enough sleep. It affects the reproductive cycles. It affects the population levels and the general health of the population. Weaponized idiots in the local government have put things in place to damage the ecosystems that normally are self-reliant, self-regulating, and highly effective at keeping invasive pests at bay. Because dragonflies feed during the day. They eat hundreds of mosquitoes a day, and the invasive pest that has arrived, whether it be from a military aircraft, a vector control vehicle, or some railroad car that's been opened up behind the airport, or out of some helicopter that flies in to Fullerton. These Aedes aegypti mosquitoes are daytime biters. They're daytime feeders. So what better predator to deploy than daytime feeders like dragonflies? But what are they doing? What are they doing, ladies and gentlemen? They are going to be spraying deltamethrin all over the place. Deltamethrin is toxic to aquatic life. Dragonflies spent a majority of their life in the water, growing as nymphs. And what do they do in the water? They're aggressive feeders that eat mosquito larvae as well. Why are we killing the dragonflies, ladies and gentlemen? And why are we going around a glass house with a jackhammer to kill a fly? Because we have weaponized idiots in local government. Now, if you're really concerned about this problem, first of all, you'd question, why is it that mosquitoes are continuing to proliferate in the absence of rain? Why is it that these mosquitoes proliferate in the absence of rainfall? We haven't had any amount of rain since February. We are in October. We haven't had rain for 8 months in California. There is no standing water anywhere of any such magnitude that would allow for such proliferation of these bugs, folks. They're being brought in. They don't live here. They're not from here. And they've showed up en masse all of a sudden in the middle of a 5-year drought. Mosquitoes need water, standing water. They need standing water for at least a week before the eggs turn into larvae that can turn into mosquitoes. How is it possible that we are in the midst of this mosquito explosion of an invasive species that is not native to here? And now we are being told that West Nile has been found in the mosquito traps, and they're going to spray areas of Fullerton on the ground. Let me tell you something, folks. It's coming to a neighborhood near you. Let me tell you the solution to the mosquito problem. Number one, you have to call out the fact that these outbreaks are being staged, that the release of these invasive species is being orchestrated by government agencies. It is not possible for these mosquitoes to have set up shop here and to have proliferated to such an extent in the absence of precipitation. It is physiologically and biologically impossible for us to have this mosquito population in this kind of arid situation. California is in the midst of a death grip of a drought. Now, I go for walks a lot. I spend a lot of time outside during the day and in the evening. And I have noticed that the mosquito population has drastically changed to a type of mosquito that doesn't buzz around my ear, but actually goes for my ankles. That's these Aedes aegypti mosquitoes, and they bite during the day, not at night. Guess what else I've seen when I'm out walking around? I've seen the Department of Agriculture trucks driving around, and I've also seen the vector control trucks driving around. And of specific interest to me are the vector control trucks, and I always talk to them and I ask them, hey, what you doing? What you looking for? What you got in the tank? What are you spraying? Well, I ran into a young man who was working as a temp for vector control about 2 weeks ago, and it's been very warm in Southern California. It's been 90 degrees every day, 80 degrees every day, and I noticed that he was stopping his truck every so often in a residential neighborhood, and he would take out his spray nozzle and he would spray puddles of water in the gutter. And I asked him why he's spraying the puddles. He said, oh, well, we're spraying any standing water because of the mosquito population. And I said, have you detected any Aedes aegypti mosquitoes in this city? And he said, no, we haven't yet. And I said, can I ask you a question? Now, these are loaded questions. I know the answers. But I said, how long does it take for water to produce mosquito larvae, assuming eggs are laid in it? He says, oh, about a week. I said, thank you very much. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know of one single puddle that lasts more than a day in Southern California in this heat. So why are they running around spraying the puddles in the gutters with toxic chemicals? What drinks out of the puddles, folks? The birds. Why are they poisoning the birds, folks? Why are they poisoning the predators that can nab the insect population in mid-flight? You know, there are all kinds of birds that I watch fly around all day, and the maneuvers they make are absolutely amazing. And I watch these birds catch bugs in midair. And what are they doing? They're not running around a glass house with a jackhammer, folks. They're running around a glass house with a blowtorch, with cyanide gas being released in it. You cannot poison the natural predators that are supposed to be controlling the vector problem of an invasive species. But that's exactly what they're doing, folks. That's exactly what they're doing. Because birds and dragonflies are our best defense against mosquitoes. And birds drink out of the puddles in the gutter, just as they have for decades and decades since I was a child. And they'll also wake up early in the morning, because when the sprinklers come on at night, the earthworms wash out of the grass, they end up in the gutter, and the birds eat the earthworms. Well, now these earthworms and water puddles are dosed with heavy doses of pesticide. Now, I saw how much he was spraying. It was a lot. Enough to kill the birds, folks. Enough to kill the bugs. Enough to kill the dragonflies if they want to fly over that thing and take a dip. I have a swimming pool, and one of my favorite things to do in the summer when I get out of the water and I lay there and soak up the rays, I watch these dragonflies fly over the pool. It's absolutely amazing. There are no dragonflies this year, ladies and gentlemen. And when I go to the park near my home, there's a couple of lakes, and I like to watch the dragonflies fly over the lake. And you know what my favorite thing is to watch at the lake? Is one of those largemouth bass jumps out of the water and grabs that dragonfly in the air. You want to talk about an amazing sight and God's splendor, folks, the creatures that he's created and the natural balance that has been created to keep things in check and at bay. It's amazing, folks. I want to tell you something. Weaponized idiots in local government have put the cell towers everywhere that are reducing the numbers of the natural predators of all kinds of vectors. Now, they've put in the LED lights on all the street lights, which are screwing up the sleep cycles of birds and insects. And now they're spraying everything, including the standing water in the gutters. Folks, if you want to stop the mosquito proliferation, you've got to start looking at who's flying these things in and unloading them in midair. Okay? That's what's going on, folks. Weaponized idiots in local government affect all of us, because let me tell you something. They'll go as low as they have to go. You see, the people in local government that are elected, most of them are idiots. That's why they're chosen to be run for office by the unions and the controllers. We have to call out the BS. We have to expose these eugenics agendas, folks. We have to expose what is being done to us by people at high levels who have used the compartmentalized governmental apparatus to push these agendas top down when no one questions the orders or the side effects of these actions. And that's what I do as an activist, folks. And so far, we've managed to stave off quite a few things at the local level. This one, however, with the spraying, they've just announced it the day before it begins. And the trucks are going to go from 2 a.m. to 5 a.m., I believe, on Thursday in select neighborhoods. About 2,700 homes in Fullerton are going to be sprayed with a gas. This pesticide, deltamethrin, takes up to a year to degrade in the soil, folks. That means it's going to be in the dirt for a year. Your kids like to play in the backyard? I used to like to make mud balls and mud pies when I was a little kid in the backyard. My dad made us a dirt pile, and we used to make all kinds of fun things in there and play with our Tonka trucks. And I remember coming in the house and we'd have dirt all over us growing up. I know kids are out there playing soccer in the grass and running around, and this stuff stays in the soil for a year, and it's never been tested for human health effects. And we know that it's a nerve agent. And we know, ladies and gentlemen, that what this stuff does to aquatic life is a nightmare. We know that it's highly toxic to bees and the phylum Hymenoptera. Any insects with antennas are highly susceptible to microwave radiation, and when you have a synergistic diabolical effect of pesticide application combined with radio frequency emissions to any insect with an antenna, you have a situation on your hands that will result in death of these insect populations. And the insect population that is of notable interest in controlling the mosquito population are the dragonflies. I don't understand why there's such a disconnect between the people in local governments and the common sense that is instinctively planted in us by God Almighty Himself. But it exists nonetheless. The chasm is so wide and deep, it's unbelievable. How stupid are people going to remain as their homes and yards are sprayed with this stuff? And as they import these invasive species to supposedly, in my opinion, set the pretext for an outbreak where they can justify more spraying and forced vaccinations, ladies and gentlemen. Do you know how dangerous this precedent is? Do you know how scary this is? Do you realize that if they can start injecting us and spraying us, look folks, they're already starting to irradiate us. They've already installed the lighting weaponry. They've put it on the car headlights. It's on most of the street lights now. You're bringing it into your house. I've talked to you at length this morning about how you should not be having these lighting systems in your home. Look, folks, we need to be releasing a bunch of dragonflies. We do not need a bunch of chemicals dumped all over us. That's already taking place at your neighborhood pharmacy and at your neighborhood home improvement store. Look at the shelves, folks. Just look at them. Listen, I'm here to tell you that we can't take this sitting down. You need to keep an eye on your local government and who they're involved with and what they're involved in, ladies and gentlemen, because these weaponized idiots are setting up the infrastructure that is going to be used against us. I'm going into a city council meeting here shortly, and I'm going to talk about this. And I'm going to tell you right now, ladies and gentlemen, that what is important to me is important to all of you. And I want all of you to understand one simple fact, folks, and that is that we can all make a difference if we're wide awake. You need to shut off the ball game, and you need to shut off all this mindless nonsense with the Kavanaugh confirmation, because that Jesuit's getting installed. Trump's all part of the system. This whole thing's going to go the way they want it. You know, they just pulled off all of the... restrictions on radiation exposure guidelines so they can make it easier to start releasing stuff on us that they know what it does, but they don't want us to know what it does. You know what I'm talking about, folks. You know what I'm talking about. You understand that they've studied chemicals, radio frequency emissions, and all this weaponry for decades, and now they finally perfected it, ladies and gentlemen. And here we are. Here we are facing the music, folks. Here we are facing the music. I'm about to go into Fullerton City Hall here, and I'm about to explain this to the weaponized idiots on the Fullerton City Council, folks. And I want you to understand something. You need to do the same thing. Because the problem is, we've got weaponized idiots all over the place. Radio frequency emissions are weapons, folks. These people are not messing around. They've perfected these systems. And now they're starting to release bugs that carry things that are going to give them a justification to poison us even more. We can't sit here and let them get away with this, folks. We can't. You got to look at your children. Do you realize that these nerve agents in these pesticides work all kinds of dark magic on young children? They're the most susceptible to these poisons. It's unbelievable what we're facing, ladies and gentlemen. There's no end to this unless we make an end come to this, folks. It is up to us. It's not up to somebody else to solve this problem, folks. It's up to us. We're about to go in. Are you still with me, you guys? Are you still watching? Do we still have an audience here? We're going to go in. You going to join me? Can you guys see me okay? Because we're about to have some fun. I'm going to switch the camera in just a second here. Bear with me here for just a moment while I get into position. I know the lighting's not that good. All right. We're going in, folks. We're going into City Hall. I'm an American. We're all Americans. We got to fight this battle, all right? This is where the decisions are made. Folks, this is where the decisions are made to hurt everybody, all right? And this is where you have a voice. You see this place? This is where you have a voice as well as a responsibility. They're spraying 1080 all over New Zealand right now. They're not messing around, folks. They're going to spray poison in your community. Here we go. We're going to go in. Let me see what's going on here. I got to fill out a speaker slip. It's going to be just a second. All right.
I mean, I know it's true, but it's surprising me still.
It's where we are. Let's take a look and see what's going on in here. Got a lot of people in this room. All right, so the meeting's underway. Weaponized idiots in local government are the ones making decisions for you. Your health decisions, folks. These are the people that make decisions for you and your children. You need to understand, ladies and gentlemen, you cannot let them continue to make health decisions for you. These people appoint people to city boards and commissions that make health decisions for you, that put cell towers in your park, behind your home, that appoint people to boards that approve spraying of chemicals. New Zealand is dropping chemicals on their population, ladies and gentlemen. Look, folks, they're dumping 1080 all over New Zealand right now, all right? That's what's going on. They're dumping 1080 out of helicopters and planes. They're dumping pellets all over the ground. It's getting into the water. It's getting into the food supply. It's getting into the soil. And we've got idiots in Orange County that think it's okay to ignore the fact that we have a viable solution to the mosquito-borne illness problem, and they're going around a glass house with a jackhammer to kill a fly. I don't know how many people are in line here, but it looks like there's probably close to 30 people in line. I'm not sure how long I don't think I want to stay inside the building. I think it's probably a better idea to just wait outside and keep this going until the line moves up, because it looks like there's probably about 20 people.
Yeah, there is
a whole bunch of them. Yeah, I'm going to wait until... Yeah, and you know what else happens in here is the problem is they've got this metal roof for acoustical purposes, and the signal's really bad in here. So let's stay outside here for a couple minutes. All right, I'm back outside. Every time I go in there, the stream gets interrupted because they have something on the ceiling in there that blocks the transmission. So that's the problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to stay out here. We're going to keep going on this for a few minutes. Here's the deal, folks. The problems we face have simple solutions. And those solutions involve getting involved and getting off your ass and doing something about these problems. Because all of us are in this together, all right? And all of us have a voice, and collectively we can stop these agendas. But it involves all of us getting busy and getting to work, folks. All right? That means you got to stop sitting there and drinking your hop-infested beer. You got to sit there and face the reality of what your children are going to inherit because you don't want to deal with it. You want your children growing up into a highly toxic, poisonous hellhole? I mean, seriously. All right, now we got a ambulance in here. Something's going on. Somebody's leaving. Let's see what's going on here. What's up, buddy? Well, it looks like somebody's going to be leaving on an ambulance here, ladies and gentlemen. I wonder who it is. Well, we got 2 fire trucks, 3 fire trucks, and an ambulance. I don't know who's going down for the count here tonight, but I hope they're okay. Anyway, so what I'm getting at is, you know, New Zealand, I don't know if you followed the story with New Zealand, but they've got 1080 pellets, which is a highly toxic fluoride pesticide being dumped all over the place. Now, in Southern California, what we've got going on is a similar phenomenon that's taking place with the glyphosate. If you go to Home Depot, it's in the Roundup, it's everywhere. People are spraying it all over their yards. People are spraying it all over the place, folks. You need to wake up. You know, this is amazing right here. I want to show you something. This is really disgusting. You see this? Can you see what that says? This is the Fullerton Firefighters Support Cancer Awareness. It's their pink project. Okay? You know what cancer awareness is, folks? It's accepting what they're doing to us. I'm not going to accept this. I'm not going to accept these guys, you know, spending $2 million a year on overtime as they wrap their truck in pink ribbons while they poison us and remain silent on microwaving the kids in the school, while they spray these chemicals on our homes, while they erect these towers, while they deploy these weapons in the laps of our children. Folks, acceptance is basically complicity, folks. We don't want to support cancer awareness, ladies and gentlemen. We want to support ending the epidemic. We want to support the intentional disruption of the propagation of this arm of the eugenics programs. And that's what the goal is, raising awareness about these items. Because we know what causes cancer, ladies and gentlemen. Cancer is a chronic metabolic disorder that is caused primarily by a deficiency in nitrosamine compounds in our diet. We're going to see how's the signal, folks. Are we in and out again? Every time I go in here, I think we lose the signal. I think that's what happens. Yep. Very bad connection once again. So as soon as I go into that room, we're going to lose the signal. I think what I'm going to do is once I get in, I'll switch over to the camcorder and we'll do a video with that. But folks, I want to tell you, you see that flag? There's 3 flags flying there, folks. One of them is the United States flag without a gold tassel around it. And I know, as stupid as this sounds, these idiots at City Hall don't even have a light on the thing illuminating it, which they should. We have the state of California flag, and then below that we have the flag for the POWs, folks, the missing POWs that never came home, the prisoners of war that never returned to their families, never to be seen or heard from again, folks. And we got to fight for these people. And we got to fight for people that haven't been born, just like our ancestors did. And we've got to fight for people that are here right now with us. We've got to fight these evil agendas. And the only way we can succeed in fighting them is if we work together to expose them. And we've got to start thinking, and we've got to start using our minds. We've got to start opening our eyes to solutions. And what we've got to do is propose these solutions publicly and in and amongst our spheres of influence to our friends and family and to our elected officials. And you tell the truth whether they like it or not. It's not your job to be everybody's friend. It's your job to tell the truth, folks. Because what's at stake? What's at stake is not an option. Not doing something about these problems is not an option, folks. That's all I can tell you. All right, I'm gonna sign off right now because here's the deal. If I go in there, you're gonna lose the signal. It's not even gonna be worth watching because they've got some metallic screen on the roof that totally blocks the entire signal. All right? I'm just gonna go in there and tell them what I just got finished telling you right now. And I gotta get behind about 15 or 20 people in line. That's gonna take at least 3 minutes a person to go through the comments. All right, that's a fact. So I think what I'll do now is I'll say goodbye. Listen, I want to thank all you guys for tuning in. I'm going to have a guest on tonight, and we're going to talk about a variety of subjects. I believe we're probably going to come on around 10 o'clock, maybe 9 o'clock, maybe 10 o'clock. She's a very special guest. You won't want to miss this. I know I've said we're going to be having these programs tonight, but here's the deal. I gotta keep a balance. I gotta have time for research. I gotta have time for my family. I have to have time for the Lord. I have to have time for myself. And I have to have time for all of you, because there's a lot of you out there, and there's a lot of you that haven't heard about this stuff, and you're gonna hear about it. It takes time, energy, effort, and intent, dedication, perseverance, and strength to continue this battle, ladies and gentlemen. It takes time, folks. And, right now I could be home watching the ball game. I could be microwaving a Hot Pocket, but I'm not. So I'm trying to do something about how they're going to spray us, how they keep stealing all our money and giving it to the police to pay off all the killer cop lawsuits and the frame-up jobs. We got to fight this stuff, folks. We got to fight this stuff. I'm going to keep the stream going when I walk in. Actually, I changed my mind. I'm going to keep it going. All right? I'm going to flip the camera here just a moment. I'm going to flip this camera. I want you guys to see where I'm at. What's going on here. That's why they call me the Fullerton Informer, folks, because the city of Fullerton is my hometown. It's my community. You see that flag, folks? See those Agenda 21 high-density kill grid apartments there where everyone's got a Wi-Fi router? You see that, folks? There's a train station right behind it. So you can never have a car. You got to sit inside and watch your big screen TV and eat your frankenfruit that's been trucked in after it's been taken off an airplane that was picked green and gassed with ethylene and shellacked with some sort of a resin that's got a better finish on it than my BMW. Listen, folks, they got plans for you. And you need to be aware of all their plans, because guess what? For every landmine they lay, there's a way around it. You don't have to walk into the traps. For every one they lay, there are 2 exit doors that are wide open. We need to make people aware of this. We need to tell people how to avoid the traps, how to avoid the pitfalls. Let's have a look in here and see how long that line is and see what's going on. We're going to look through the door and see what happens.
I actually do, I work on safety. We do have children in our school district. I just wanted to say that I've done quite a bit.
How you doing?
I'm Kat.
Hi, Kat. Come on out here real quick.
Do you go over Fullerton homeless? I interviewed the homeless.
Yeah, I did that one.
No, that's my website.
No, I interviewed a guy. Is that what you're
I
asking?
interviewed Fullerton homeless, it's called on YouTube.
Okay, I didn't do that, no.
No, it's me.
Is that you?
No, I tried
Okay.
to comment to you. And I want to learn more about 5G. I don't understand all that stuff.
Well, we can talk about it.
Yeah.
I got a stream going right now. The reception's really bad in there. It looks like they're jamming the Wi-Fi, folks. I don't know what's going on with the phone, but it's not coming through when I go in that room. But I don't want you to leave because the stream's still going.
Listen to me when I go up there.
You gonna go on public comment? Well, I'll
I
get
met with Fitzgerald the other day.
Yeah. You might as well talk to that brick wall because she's going to tell you what you want to hear and do nothing. Hopefully,
Well, I hope you know that I actually interviewed the girls at, is that on me?
no, it's on your paper. You want to be interviewed right now?
No.
Okay, I'll keep it away.
Anyway, I interviewed the POH girls that came canvassing our neighborhood, and they told me on recording that they want people to be able to shoot drugs up in the
Why?
comfort of in their own space, away from our kids, away from our schools.
So that's the purpose of this.
So where's 1600 Commonwealth? Right by a school.
Well, 1600 Commonwealth, I'll tell you, because I've got a public records request in for the city. By the way, folks, I want you to listen to this because the city is about to give away a $5 million piece of real estate to a nonprofit that doesn't have any money so they can warehouse transitional homeless people so they can slam and do drugs all night and then get out in the morning and go walk around right next to schools. Now, if I wanted to have $5 million piece of real estate, I'd have to probably work for 500 years to pay for it. So, yeah, this is a horrible idea, folks.
Her name is Michael. Michael Blind, Blinde. She works with Pathways of Hope.
Pathways of Hope. They want the city paid $5 million for that property.
And
they want to give it to them for nothing. For free. And we got somebody who
Byron go in there.
We have a company that wants to bring in a bunch of jobs.
Byron.
That's right.
Yes, my neighbors.
That's right. You know what? They got a bunch of people making a living. That's what we need. We need jobs.
But
we don't need
want
hires.
people so we can take the dirty money. It's hashtag money grab, money grab.
Hashtag money grab from the grants.
That's what I was
You got it. You understand.
I do that, and I do understand.
Are you going up there? There's probably, let me see, how many people are in front of the door? By the way, this is the city manager. This is Bruce Whitaker, Jesus Silva, Jennifer Fitzgerald, Greg Seaborn. These are the people, folks, on the city council that are making these decisions. Okay, we're at City Hall right now. I guess the signal's okay. Are you folks still pulling me in? Okay, let me see some comments about the transitional homeless shelter issue we just talked about. Can you guys hear what we're saying? Okay, good. So it's still coming in. Still coming in. This is good. All right. Well, we're just going to wait till this thins out just a little bit here. This is how you deal with corruption, folks, head on. You deal with corruption, you get in the face of the people that are involved in it. I want to introduce our city manager to you and our council members. Once again, this is the city of Fullerton, folks. Okay? You see these people? These are the people that are making the decisions for the people in this community. These are the people that you elect every 2 years or 4 years or whenever the time comes. And these are the people that have put us in the position that we're in. Looks like there's still a bunch of people in line here to talk. You can go through the window. You can see there's a bunch of people lined up to speak here. You can see the council's in session right now. I'm just behind the door. And what we've got here is people that are giving them their comments. So it's actually a good vantage point here. There's the acting police chief because the police chief is in trouble because his wife apparently got all jacked up at a concert. And I don't know, something happened in the bathroom and they tried to render her aid, and apparently there was an alleged assault that took place that involved the police chief when he was interfering with them, trying to give his wife aid. I wonder why he didn't want the wife to have aid rendered to her. I mean, if my wife was in trouble in an event, I'd certainly want medical professionals to make sure she was okay. Was he worried about what they might find? Perhaps. Perhaps. Anyway, let's get away from this. Okay, the connection's a little better now. The minute I go in here, they're jamming. It's amazing. Yeah, the signal just doesn't come in when I go into this room. Really amazing. But out here, the signals. Okay, we're in the belly of the beast right now in the city of Fullerton, folks. So the City Hall council meeting is in session. Just waiting for our turn to go in there, folks. And we'll keep waiting. As soon as I get close to the window, the signal jams, so I'm sure there's some issue there. Here we have some Fullerton firemen. Hi, guys. Can you tell me what the pink fire truck's all about?
So, and actually, the wrapping you see, it's actually a donation to get that wrap. It's just for us to show up.
Yeah, here we go. As soon as I get close to the room, I lose the signal. Isn't that amazing? All right. Is it still coming in? Yeah, they're totally jamming the signal, folks. Yeah, I can't even get a stream going inside that place. So as soon as I get inside, there it goes, right? All right, is it all good now? All right, I don't know what just went down in there, but somebody's leaving on a stretcher. All right, so we're back outside. Apparently, as soon as I get too close, I don't know what the heck they got in there, but it certainly works really well at blocking the transmission. Let's see if we can get back up there and get some more footage. A little more familiarity with the people that are making the decisions, folks. We're live at City Hall. Yeah, as soon as I get close to the room, it seems to stop. But it's going right now. Yeah, just hang in there while this goes. Yep, there goes the bad connection again. You see that, folks? I don't know what kind of technology they have, but I'm sure it's a lot more advanced than what I got. That's okay. So what we're going to do is we're just going to wait for just a few more minutes here. Let's take a look at some of the geographical representation of the city that we live in. As you can see, here's a map of Fullerton, folks. And this is the town I live in. This is Orange County. This is Fullerton, folks. As you can see, it's a large city with a lot of people, a lot of families, a lot of good, hard-working people that are just wanting to live their lives. They just want to go to work and pay their bills and live honest lives and be left alone and have a adequate amount of rest and free time to enjoy their families and to live out the American dream, folks. That's what it's all about. But you cannot have government intrusion and everything I just mentioned coexisting. There has to be autonomy with rights inured in the people, and they are. You just got to stand for them and claim them. Those are the facts, folks. Those are the facts. We got to do what's right. We got to do what's important, and we got to do what's necessary. And you know what? It takes all of us to wake up. You know, everywhere I go, I see flags flying. What does it mean? What does it mean? Does that mean that the people over in Iraq are supposed to drive around their Humvees and blow up Iraqis? Is that what the flag's for? No. The flag is a symbol. Do you know why that flag's red, white, and blue, folks? Because a bunch of people 260 years ago bled out barefoot in the snow on a blanket of white snow under a dark blue sky. That's why we got those colors, folks. That's why we got those colors. All right? That flag stands for people that died for your rights and your liberty. For your rights to worship God and have a free press. Your rights to bear arms for the security of a free state. Your rights to peaceably assemble. Your rights to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures. Your rights as a state to reserve all powers that aren't vested in the federal government to the states. Your rights to not have to quarantine soldiers in your home during a time of war, time of peace. Your rights not to have unreasonable penalties and fines levied against you and punishments against you. Your rights not to self-incriminate. Your rights, folks. Your rights to tell the truth. Your rights to vote. Your rights to be free from cruel and unusual punishments. Your rights to a trial by a jury of your peers. Your rights to be innocent until proven guilty. Your rights to a free press. Your rights to not have an establishment of religion and to freely exercise your religion and not have Satanism jammed down your throat. Your rights to pursue liberty, justice, truth, and happiness. It comes at a price, folks. It comes at a price. And it starts at a place like this. Your town hall, ladies and gentlemen. Your town hall. You know, your rights don't come in a Cracker Jack box, and you can't buy them out of a vending machine. Your rights come at a price. The price of liberty is eternal vigilance, ladies and gentlemen. And it's Tuesday night, and I could be home watching The Simpsons or some other moronic bullshit show, okay? And I'm not. I don't watch television. I read and I study for the benefit of my fellow man and woman, for the children, for all of you, and for the future of this great nation that is in the hands of myopic, self-serving, weaponized idiots in local government. And tonight I showed you just a few of some of who those people are, ladies and gentlemen. People just go along to get along with everything, don't they? Isn't that the problem? That's the problem, folks. That's the problem. People go along with everything. You got to stop going along to get along, and you got to start getting with the program, folks. The stuff I talked about on this video tonight is very important. This is a common sense approach to complex problems, but it does involve effort. It does involve getting out of your comfort zone. It involves getting off your butt. It involves doing things you may not like to do. You think I like to walk into a room where a bunch of people want to beat me up so I can tell them what they're doing wrong? That's about what it is. Let's see where we are as I go back in here. Can you imagine what this place was like in the 60s? Must have been beautiful. Let's see if they kill the signal again. Still a bunch of people against the wall. This thing's going nowhere. They're still going. Let's see how long this is going to last here. It's starting to drop again. See if I can get inside. Let's see how the signal is.
The RV is was built in 1983, so it's an RV, and the homeless people who live in it, they are discriminated against.
because Fullerton doesn't want us here, truck drivers are not ticketed for any of that. $39 each, and if you're on a disability, by the railroad track, it would allow 15 to 20 obbies and cows in one city.
We had to come back out, folks. That's just all there is to it. Yeah, the signal just doesn't seem to want to work in there. We've got to find a better way to keep the signal from being jammed. Well, let's go back outside. All right, so whatever kind of device they got, whether it's the properties of that room, whether it's that metal stuff on the ceiling, I don't know what it is, folks. All I know is that in Fullerton, California, we've got a corrupt city government, much like what you have in your community. And the only way to deal with that corrupt government is to expose it, understand it, vote the people out that are a part of it, and get to the bottom of what's necessary to fix it. But the eugenics agendas are an integral part of having these weaponized idiots in these positions, folks. The weaponized idiots on boards, commissions, committees, all of these people are an integral part of what has been aimed at you and your children. And I want you all to understand that you need to be aware of who the players are in this game. To some of these people, they're willfully ignorant, they're willfully blind, and that is just as evil as being aware of what's going on, because when they're presented with information, they don't want to hear it, they don't want to see it, they don't want to look at it. Some people have even refused to accept information. I've had teachers at Troy High School refuse to accept information on the dangers of wireless radiation at a high school that has metal walls in it, ladies and gentlemen. I had teachers in a Fullerton elementary school, along with a principal, refuse to accept written information on the dangers of microwave radiation in classrooms. Folks, you got to do what you can to wake people up. You got to do what you can to fight the evil. And ultimately, you got to do what you can to protect your family. And I know we've talked about this. And I know we've talked about this at length about the schools, but if your children are in that environment, you need to get them out of there, especially if they're girls. I want to tell you something. The weaponized idiots in local government aren't limited to City Hall, folks. They're also involved in the school districts, because in the school districts, they're the ones. I want to tell you something about Troy High School. This is a really, really good example of just how dangerous weaponized idiots are in local government. Troy High School is a magnet school in Fullerton, California, near my house. And this high school was built in I believe the 1960s. And it's a one-story building on, probably 10 acres maybe. And they have sheet metal walls inside these classrooms, ladies and gentlemen. Troy High School has sheet metal walls in it. And these weaponized idiots on the school board and in school administration, and even the teachers and the principals and the vice principals and the assistant principals, the superintendents, the assistant superintendents, all the people involved. For years, we went to the board meetings warning them not to put the microwave systems into Troy High School. Troy High School in Fullerton, California has sheet metal walls. Do you know what they did? They had a problem. They couldn't get Wi-Fi to work there because it wouldn't go through the metal walls. Do you know what they ended up doing? The Fullerton Joint Union High School District, under the direction of Scott Scambray, the superintendent, went out and purchased these high-powered industrial-strength access points that actually go through the metal walls. You know what happens when you run a microwave inside metal walls, folks? Do you have any idea what goes on when those microwaves bounce around off the walls? In a classroom that has an access point in it that's designed to run 200 devices, do you know how much power is coming out of that Wi-Fi router in those classrooms?
It's designed to run 200 devices, and it's in a classroom with 30 kids. You know what that's doing to their reproductive capabilities? You know what that's doing to their health? Do you know what that's doing to them, folks? The weaponized idiots, ladies and gentlemen. They're in city government. They're on the school boards. They're everywhere, folks. Look, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to lose the signal, so I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to say goodbye for now. All right? I don't know if you can see me. I'm going to switch the camera. Folks, I'm going to go in. All right? And I'll be back a little later tonight, probably in about 2.5 hours, because what we've got, folks, coming up tonight is going to really, really be important. I've got a really special guest, and I think you're really going to be impressed with her. So God bless, and we'll talk to you guys, okay? You hang in there, and we'll be back.